Hello, YouTube family. This is your host, Marnique West of Intellectual Chocolate, and I am so excited. I have Pongee with me. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Did, thank you. Yes.
Okay, awesome. She is our millennial real estate and chill guru. So, you know, here on Intellectual Chocolate, we like to have conversations with intelligent Black minds. Make sure you check out intellectualchocolate.com if you would like to get interviewed here as well. We're going to go ahead and get started into this conversation. Now, my understanding is that, first of all, you bought your first house at 20.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that experience.
Okay, so the way that it started was was fascinated because I bought the property in 2005. So I was fascinated by these flipping shows like on A&E and HGT, where it was like HGTV, where they were saying like, you know, you can flip a property and put some carpet and paint in and make like $100K. So in my mind, I'm a 20-year-old college student.
Right.
Thinking, oh my God, this is my opportunity. Like I can drop out of school and just flip houses.
Right.
So I actually started looking on the market, and I found a real estate agent, and my husband and I started, you know, kind of saving a little bit of money. And we found a condo in Chicago on the South Side. We actually, I believe it was a 100% finance property, but we had to pay from closing costs. But back then, you know, money was very easy to get for real estate because all you needed was basically a post, are you breathing, and can you like sign documents? Like they were giving loans to like everybody. So I got that property with the intention of flipping the property. I was going to hold it for a year and really flip it. But it was probably like the worst deal I probably did, my first deal. Actually didn't even know what a special assessment is. So when we sold the condo, my attorney, he called me at the closing table. He said, I need you to come here because you can't close because you need to bring $1,100 to the closing table. Now, mind you, I thought I was getting like $13,000 or $14,000 back, like, you know, from
right.
But because the condominium association, they were doing basically tuck pointing, a new roof, and a boiler system. So that ate up all of my profits. So, yeah.
Wow.
It was a tough day. Yeah, it was really sad. Yeah. So, and then in the middle of that, we were already closing on another property, another condo. So, that's how that situation went.
That's how this is. Now, you said special. Did you say special? What did you say?
It's a special assessment. It's when your condominium association has to do like a large improvement, meaning like maybe replace all the windows or.
Okay.
Yeah, so they assessed every owner like $13,000 or $14,000 in special assessment fees. So.
Oh, okay. So you gotta read all the fine print and ask a lot of questions, right? When it comes to real estate. So, but that's good that you got the experience, I think. Yeah. Right? Absolutely. Especially so young.
Yeah.
Right. So then the next condo is when you ended up
actually making a profit. So because I was buying the next condo from the bank because it was a foreclosure inside the actual building where we just sold the other property, they have to actually absorb all the costs of the special assessment. So I was able to get this property without having to deal with that. So we got that property and we were able to sell that within maybe like 7 or 8 months. So we made like a nice profit. And so that kind of built my confidence again because I was like all the other people that get in real estate and you have your first failure and you're like, oh, this doesn't work. Right. And so with the second one, it definitely, you know, made me like, okay, we can do this again. So that was exciting. Yeah.
Nice. So that's good. And so ever since then, you have been, when was the second property? How old were you with the second property?
Well, probably 21. So
okay, so really, so just you were really like back to back. Nice.
Yeah.
Now, since then, you're in your 30s right now, and you've been buying houses and flipping them since then.
Flipping and buying and holding. I started buying and holding in 2012.
Okay.
So before that, I was just strictly like, you know, doing flips. But now we do one flip a year, and we have buy and hold. So I have like 12 rentals, and then I do one flip a year. So.
Okay. Nice. So you always do 12 rentals and then one flip a year.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then what made you actually get into that, like, actual structure to say, okay, well, we know that we were able to make a profit from this condo. Let's get to the point where we have 12 rental properties and let's have one hold property. how did you get to that point? Because I think a lot of people will be interested in hearing that. And how was that transition, or how did you get to that? Because like, you're kind of like on the trajectory that I'm wanting to do. Because I technically don't never want to like technically live in a house. That doesn't really bother me, but I do want rental properties, you know? So I'm like in that process now. So talk about that, because I'm learning too.
So, I mean, it's been definitely a process. Like, it didn't come overnight. So when we got through the condo, we bought another property for flipping and things like that. But at the time, I was still young, so I still was like, wanted to do the entrepreneurship thing, because like flipping was nice, but it wasn't something that was like taking up a lot of my time.
Right.
So I started actually a staging company for 3 years. So I had a staging company, and I would actually stage, and I would also rent furniture. So I actually had an office and a warehouse, and people would come and they would rent furniture from me. I had a U-Haul truck to, deliver it and everything.
Okay.
And so I had a staging business, because when I would flip, all the realtors were like, who did the work? Like, the staging looks amazing. And I love home and home decor and things like that. So I got into that business, and then when I was like maybe later, I got pregnant around the same, like maybe in 2 years into the business, and I was put on bed rest, and the business pretty much collapsed. So because I was really hands on and not being able to be there, I get a lot of people complaining about the delivery being late, and delivery guys like kind of like not delivering it the most professional way, and there was so many logistical issues that I had.
Right.
And it was my baby, but I had to let it go because I just couldn't like do both. So it taught me the structure of building a business. So in the future, if I do want to do it, I saw some of the pitfalls. So once I got done with that, so then I was bored again. I had a baby.
Well, it must be good when you get bored, because you come up with a lot of stuff.
So I got bored, and then also, so we were still like flipping. So my mom would watch the baby, and my husband and I would be doing our little flipping thing. But I also was like trying to live up to other people's expectations. So I was getting a lot from my parents, because I think people were still like, "What do you do all day?" Like they couldn't get it. Like, so then I went to a law school, because my parents had always told me like, "You're gonna be an attorney. You're gonna be an attorney." Like that. I've been hearing that all my life. So I took the LSAT.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I took the LSAT, got into law school, went to John Marshall Law School. I went there for a year, but my heart wasn't in it. Like, even with the study groups, they would be like, you're looking at real estate again. Like, you're going to wind up like not failing. You're not going to pass the test because you're not paying attention. You're looking at it like, why are you looking at these cards? They couldn't get it because they were like, that was their passion. They were into it. So that's when I realized, like, I can't like march to the beat of someone else's drum. I have to kind of like do what my heart tells me to do. So that's when I just kind of like, okay, I can't keep running from it. I love real estate. And so that year I decided to just more become a landlord, because I like the residual income. I mean, making a profit from a flip is nice, but there's a lot of tax implications with that.
Okay.
Capital gains and different things like that. So being a landlord makes it much easier. And then just, being able to have that, check every first of the month is really a direct deposit from Section 8 and the market tenants. So that, is why we kind of went the landlord route and a little bit of flipping on the side. So.
Okay. So now, are your properties in the Illinois area, or are they?
They are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then you got into, you said Section 8, so you have some properties that are Section 8 qualified, or what is the correct terminology for that?
Yeah, so Section 8 qualified, exactly, yeah.
Okay. And then how does that process work, or can you go into that? So just in case anybody that's listening or our viewers listening are really interested and they want to really know how to get into this, because you were young, and most entrepreneurs, they have different, perspectives throughout life, meaning you may start one thing and it may fail, but as long as you keep going, you will figure out what works for you. And I think that's just part of the journey, right? You start somewhere and then you continue to go. So maybe talk a little bit more about that for our viewers, because I think they probably would be interested in that.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in it too, look.
So Section 8, I know people have like a lot of negative connotations about it, but I think it's one of our most lucrative, as far as income strategies is Section 8. Particularly if you do Section 8, if you live a big metropolitan area. I really don't see the upside of it when you live in like a suburb surrounding. So for instance, a lot of my Section 8 properties are in Chicago. Chicago, because of that cost of living is so much higher, they pay me a lot higher on my rent than versus what I would get if I marketed to a regular market tenant. So I'm talking about you could be in the hood of Chicago, like Inglewood, like gunshots everywhere, like very, very poor, depressed areas. And they will give you, for a 4-bedroom, you can get like $1,600.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, so that's why I like Section 8. Now with Section 8, you have to advertise it. And once you get somebody that has a Section 8 voucher, that's when you take it to them. So you don't like get your building ready and walk up to the, housing authority and say, hey, I want to, get a tenant. No, you have to find a tenant that says they like the property. And once you qualify them, and usually what I usually do is just like, I'll just run a short background check, not a real thorough one, only because Section 8 already has done that legwork.
Right.
So I'll run like a small background check just to make sure that it's nothing like recent, like an eviction or anything like that on there. And then what you'll do is you'll turn the paperwork in. They do, one thing I don't like about Section 8 here in Chicago, I don't know if it's for all housing authorities, but they actually disqualify you if you have a felony. So I don't like that, because it's like if someone is coming out of jail and they want to be a landlord and they have property they may have inherited, they can't do Section 8 because they have a felony. Like, I just think
so the person, so they can't be, so they have a felony, they can't have a Section 8 property that they rent out.
They can't. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to look at the rules.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to look at the rules in Georgia and see what the rules are here, because I'm pretty sure it's probably different per jurisdiction. Yeah, exactly. But that limits income when they probably can't get a job anyway, but they could do rental properties and they can't even do that.
Exactly. And that's, like I said, it's a very lucrative way. And like, for instance, if you're in Chicago, and I kind of rent in like a BC neighborhood, so some of my properties are called opportunity areas, meaning that the properties are in great areas. They have access to shopping, good schools,
right,
things like that. So what Section 8 will do for me is they will pay me even more. They will also give me a property tax rebate. So a lot of times they'll give me $500 or $600 yearly off of my taxes, because they feel like you're doing us a favor by allowing these people to rent in such a nice neighborhood.
Okay. So,
yeah. So another perk to Section 8, but this is my disclaimer with Section 8. My husband and I both have agreed that it's about 20-30% of them are good tenants. The other 70%, so you have to be extremely careful
right,
when to them. My book kind of goes along about like how well I screen. I probably have 2 chapters dedicated to it. But your screening has to be on point, because it can be disastrous if you don't. If you just pick anybody with a voucher, it can be a major headache. Section 8 in itself causes more of a hands-on management to me versus my marketing tenants. The regular market tenants, they won't call as much. But with the Section 8 tenants, they're calling about a light bulb. They're calling about the most innocuous things.
Really? Wow.
Where the market tenant is, they're gonna troubleshoot for you. They're gonna make sure they can kind of do some things before they like bother you, and they're coming out their own pocket. Whereas Section 8, they might be paying $60 in rent, but they're calling you about small things.
Everything. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. That's good information, though. Okay, so guys, if you're just following us or joining us, we're on Intellectual Chocolate. Make sure you go to intellectualchocolate.com. I'm your host, Ronique West. I'm talking to Pongee. She is the Real Estate and Chill author. She's telling us all about real estate today. She's in Chicago doing amazing things, and so I'm learning a lot because I'm getting ready to get into real estate here myself very soon. So this is all good information. So your book, let's talk a little bit more about what's in the book before we go into, I know you would do a class, which I'm so interested in, so we'll save that for later. But the book, so you did mention that you talk about being a landlord and then screening your tenants. And because I know I've always thought about doing Section 8 property as well, just because of opportunity zone, I think that's what they call it in our area. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And, just making sure I get that guaranteed rent without having to do a regular market client.
Exactly.
So that was kind of like my reasoning for it, thinking like investing wise. Now, what else does your book cover? What other chapters are in there?
I also talk about flipping. So
Okay.
I'll talk about flipping and some of the materials you should use,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with contractors and, you know, making sure like, cause that's another like challenge with real estate is finding reliable contractors and making sure that, you know, you document everything. Also making sure that when you're dealing with contractors, you want to make sure you know the subs that are working on your property. Because what can happen, and this happens in different states, where if the subs are not paid and you paid the contractor, they can come after you and put a lien on your real estate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they can, and it has happened. So you want to make sure that when you're paying this contractor, all the subs are standing around and you have them sign as well saying that they've been paid in full, because there are some very bad contractors that will literally have these people do work and then they will get the check and will not pay their workers. So, but you're going to be on the hook because the subs are going to come after you. So I talk about dealing with contractors. I talk about dealing with different agents. In my experience, I think that if you're a newbie and you're trying to get into real estate investing, I think you should try to find a real estate agent that's actually an investor. Okay. Because I feel like they have the eyes of an investor and they're going to take their time with you, as opposed to an agent that might just try to put you into a property because they're sick of showing you properties. Like, my agent has been so patient with me. Like, I might look at 60 property, I might ask for 60 lockbox codes and they're fine with it. But some agents don't want to do that type. They, you know, they kind of just like want to push you into something and get you to sign a document. So I think, you know, I talk about that. I talk about, you know, some of the, you know, red flags that I see when I'm screening different tenants. Also talk about some of the systems I put in place as far as like when you're, you know, rehabbing your rental properties, you probably just want to use the same materials. I've found that that's much easier. So the same paint, the same cabinetry, tile, I think it just makes it much easier. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Right.
Touch-ups, you just know you have that same paint color and different things. And then also it just helps you extend the quality of the, you know, the rehab, because obviously when you have turnover, you have to keep fixing things. But if you get quality products in the beginning and see what works and what doesn't work. So if you bought a cheap faucet in the beginning, don't buy that again. Right. To get something better, because you want it to last long, and you don't want to have to keep rehabbing your property. So I talk about those tips because at the end of the day, you want to maintain your tenants. Vacancy is like the worst. If you don't have to have it. Like, I try to maintain my tenants if they're good tenants. Now, if they're horrible, you want them out of there. But you know, talk about delinquent rent and dealing with, you know, different things as far as eviction, cash for keys. I don't know if you guys have cash for keys in Georgia. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that. Okay. What is that?
So cash for keys is used in different states. Like, for instance, we use it here in Illinois because we are a tenant-friendly state, meaning that all the laws are basically in the favor of the tenant. So our eviction process here in Chicago is very lengthy and expensive. And if you lose, you can actually pay the fees of the tenant. The legal fees. And so even if they didn't pay rent, and let's just say it's like maybe like December, well, they may not leave until like April or May, because the court system as well as the sheriff's department, they don't like to evict people during wintertime. So what do you do when you have someone squatting in your property, not paying rent for 4 or 5 months by law, because it's cold outside? So what a lot of landlords here, what we'll do is we'll say, look, I'll give you $900 or $1,000 and you have to move everything out, and I'm going to pay you this double money. And I think when you do this, you need to talk to an attorney to make sure you have, you know, all your, you know, it's a legally binding. I wouldn't say go print it off Google Docs or anything like that. So, go talk to an attorney to make sure it's done correctly. But that's what we do here in Chicago. If you don't want to go through the long court system, because it can be very expensive to pay your attorney to keep going and showing up for the process and different things like that. So, but if you're in a landlord-friendly state, you're fine. You don't need that. So. Right.
I think we're probably landlord-friendly right now. I haven't really looked at the thing, but it's pretty standard, kind of like it was in Indiana. I don't think we're in a
Indiana is great. Now, the only reason why I won't go over there is because I can't get the same rent amount. So like here in Chicago for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath might be like $1,100 or $1,200. Over there, I can only get like maybe $700 top.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a website you can go on and look at the information, or?
Okay, so if you go to Zillow, it will kind of show you what the ranges are for rent, and
Okay.
that'll help you kind of determine what you get. Also, if you advertise it, like if you put it in there, if you're looking for a rental just to see what other people are putting down, you can compare, and that can kind of give you an idea of what you should be as far as rent. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. You're giving us a lot of great information. So now let's get into how did you, because I read a little bit about your bio, and you just really talking about your passion about millennials understanding real estate and that they can really get into this to build. And you talked a little bit about your parents, kind of forcing you to kind of go to school. And I talk a lot about that mindset of teaching our kids to go to school and retire. Those days are over with. Like, you can't really do one thing anymore and retire. They were in a different generation than what we're living in. I'm Generation X, but I know you're a millennial, and then even generation behind you. But we were the first generation where we didn't have the long-term careers. We got stuck, and the trajectory changed, right? Our trajectory is changing during our lifetime. So we're like in the process of figuring it all out and changing course, after we probably done worked about 15 or 20 years, and then the economy's changing. So now we're like, oh, we got to shift. Exactly. So I think, we have to shift as a community. So I love your story because it's really teaching people that, hey, you can be an entrepreneur. You have 14 years in, you got a house. It was a bad deal. You got a house. It was a good deal. Now you're having rental properties out the wazoo. And then you have one property that you hold, you really have. And then you had a business that you had that was staging. So it really shows that trajectory. And then law school didn't work out for you, and you knew it, even though you have to sometimes go against what your parents think, because I think a lot of our older generation is still thinking like this is the way things are, and it's not. I just read a report the other day and was listening to Dr. Henderson, who studies economy and everything in Mississippi, and he was just saying that the report, and most reports are saying this when I looked it up, the next 5 years that most people that have jobs, I think it was like about 30 or 50% of jobs are going to be gone. Wow. In the next 5 years, starting 2017, and on, because of things are changing so much. So people will have to develop different skill sets so that they could be marketable in the new economy. Yeah. And a lot of people are not talking about that. So I just love this story because we have to begin to spread this message so people won't be taken by surprise, especially with artificial intelligence and so forth that is here already.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, the thing about real estate is that you really don't need a lot of skill to get into it. And a lot of times you can do real estate. Like, I always suggest, like, if you want to get started in real estate, I say get like a 2 to 4 unit building. If you don't own any property already, you can get an FHA loan and put 3% down. That's a great way to start. You live in one unit, you rent out the 3 other ones, right? They can pay your rent, and you may have something left over. I mean, your mortgage, and you may have something left over to start saving for the next property.
Right.
But specifically, what I've started doing on my Instagram is I started showing how easy it is to get in real estate in terms of in our neighborhoods. I think obviously just like any other resource in Black neighborhoods, especially in the depressed areas, everything is undervalued. And like, I'll show properties where there's like on the south side of Chicago, $5,000 property, $3,000 properties, $10,000 properties. And I try to tell people, you can partner with people. Like, if it's $5,000, $2,500, $2,500.
Right.
Like, own a piece of real estate. I like to also share this story that I recently, experienced about a couple years ago. I bought a property that was advertised for $7,000, and it got bid up to $10,000. And some kind of way, the property was actually, the city of Chicago actually made me go to housing court for it because it was a vacant property and I didn't register it. I didn't know I had to register the property that was vacant, but I learned quickly. Anyway, I was there, and I was with my husband. We were doing a little work outside, cleaning it up in the outside. And one of the kids came over, and they were like, yeah, my landlord really wanted this property. He was really upset that he didn't get to have it. And so when we Googled his land, we just Googled the person that owned the property from the little kid, and coming to find out, he owned 8 properties on the block. some white guy that lived in a really great suburb on the north side, and he was getting Section 8 of all these, and he felt like it was an entitlement to have this property. But I shared that because I wanted them to know that everyone else is reaping the benefits of our neighborhood and our property. He's sitting up pretty, living very nicely in the suburbs, owning these properties for cheap, while the city of Chicago is probably giving him $1,200 to $1,400 per house. And we're not buying our own properties. This is simple to get into. $10,000. I mean, come on. Like, some of us might get that back from an income tax check. So that's why I like to share that story, is that it doesn't take a lot of money to get into this property. Now, yeah, we might have to put an additional $10,000 in there, but where else are you going to get returns like that? We're getting about $1,000 a month on that property. It's a small 2-bedroom and bath, but it's a very, it's passive income. So, yeah.
Right. And I think that's just because I always think about, like, just growing up, this are not conversations I had with my parents. Like, they definitely never talked to me about money, really, for the most part, even though I was in a 2-parent household. But that was not ever a conversation I had. Even entrepreneurship, I didn't learn about entrepreneurship till I was like in my 30s. So that I could even, run my own business. And so those type of conversations, I think, are so crucial to having. So I thank you for sharing your story. And even talking about him, like, I think that our hoods were not always the hood.
Yeah.
And they were manufactured. Yeah. And on top of that, on the fact that when I was looking at like my great grandfather's picture of his house when he first bought it. And I remember looking at the picture and it was like the picture of the street. And I was like, this doesn't even look like the same house. Like, it isn't like the same neighborhood. Like, it looked like the suburb. Yeah. It's the hood today. But when he first bought it, I swear and I was just like, how in the heck did that happen? And then, like, our hoods were destroyed. But then on top of that, now that they're hoods, they're still taking money from us.
Exactly.
That is crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we have to, like, really begin to think differently. So, Intellectual Chocolate family, you just joining in with us. I have Pongee. She's the real estate and chill guru, what I'm calling her. She is focusing on millennials and making sure they understand about getting into real estate. And it doesn't really take a lot of experience, not even a lot of capital. Tax time is coming up. I think I'm going to do like a whole thing about this tax season and what you should do with your money.
Right.
Like, I don't know if we can do like a campaign or something. I think we need to. Yeah. But that's kind of like my objective that just kind of popped in my head when you said that, because a lot of people do, and then they spending money. Yeah. But if you take part of that money, if it's like $2,500, get somebody, or $5,000. Some people do get $10,000 back. Yeah. Take $5,000 and get a property. Yes. At least you'll have something to stand for that next year when tax season comes again, right? And sometimes I think it's scary. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that process, and then, like, you kind of getting over maybe the I think sometimes you're scared to go into something new. Maybe talk a little bit about that, and then let's talk about the class. Yeah. After that.
I mean, I definitely think it's fear in it, and I think having a partner alleviates that if you can. But if you do have to go at it alone, I mean, I think the best thing you do is just research as much as possible. Right. Even when you are trying to buy the property, talk to some of the neighbors and just kind of get a feel about the neighborhood and things like that. A lot of times what I do on Instagram, I put it out there because I know that this is somebody's grandma's block, or a block that they live on, a family. You know what I mean? So even if you don't live in the hood, I know you know some family that lives in the hood, right? Mm-hmm. So why not buy where your relative lives? And that kind of takes some of the angst away, because they can kind of look out for you. They can tell you what's going on. But when you are buying properties that are vacant and you don't have a tenant and it's not tenant occupied, I definitely suggest that you make sure you lock up the property. A lot of times in the hood, what I've noticed is they're taking like the copper piping. So going with like a Simply Safe system is a great thing. What I like, it's like a traveling security system, and it costs me $14.95 a month, but you basically install it yourself, and it has like monitors that you put on the windows and the doors and things like that. And if that's ever triggered, it will call the police, and it will also call you.
Oh, okay. Nice.
They also have a camera system with it that costs like a couple $100 more, but it's yours and you keep it, for a lifetime. But you can also, if it's something that where it's a really scary neighborhood, you can do the camera system and you can, look on your phone and you can just check your property at all times. Yeah, so I just think and maybe if you even want to visit the police station and talk to them about, what's going on with the area. But I don't think that we should be scared to invest in our own neighborhoods. Even when I'm going into these neighborhoods, I like to talk, get a rapport with them. So I think that you shouldn't just be going up to the house and not speaking. If you can give your card to one of the neighbors and do that. And even with some of the younger kids, because our block, the one that's particularly one that's in the hood, there are a lot of children and stuff. And so they are always curious and, they want to come and help out. So we'll give them little jobs to do, maybe picking up the paper or, picking some weeds out. I think it just builds some type of, bond with, the block. And I think they respect you more and they'll look out for the property more. Right. Plus just giving back. Cause some of these children have never seen a mail before. My husband was showing them the drill gun and showing them how he was putting in the exterior door and he was showing the nails and the drill. They hadn't even seen that before. And these were 8-year-old boys. So I think that it's really important to give back in that type of way. So you don't have to have money, but if you have time to show a little boy a skill, you need to do it. You really should do it. I get so much pride when we renovate these properties and people walk up to us oh my gosh, you guys did such a great job. Really, it looks really great. You guys improved the neighborhood. That's so rewarding for me. So yeah, just, trying to do things like that will help.
Right. So now if I get your book and I've never purchased a property, am I going to be able to read the book and then come out with getting a property? That's one of my questions I'm thinking.
I definitely think you will have the confidence. And the thing about it is I really talk about the nuances. I really dive in. Also, if you're not a book reader, I have it on audio as well, iTunes and Amazon. But if I talk about even screening properties. So for instance, I talk about making sure that you're not buying in flood zones. Flood zones can be really difficult to get insurance on your property. I talk about, buying properties and making sure that you're looking at the property taxes. Even if something is $10,000, if it has $10,000 in annual property taxes, that's probably not a good deal, right? So you just need to I talk about all those things that you should be looking for when you're looking for a good candidate for a property, because not all properties are suitable for renting or flipping,
Right.
So I do go through the nuances of that.
Okay. So now do you have tax liens? And then I hear about wholesaling now. Is that?
So I've never done wholesaling. I don't have any experience with it, but I do have a lot of wholesalers that will call me with deals or text me and let me know. So that's a great way. If you feel like you're looking for a property and let's just say on the MLS, you're not finding anything, and on Zillow, contacting a wholesaler can be a great way. And also if you want to be a wholesaler out here, you can, make a good profit from that as well.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I hear a lot of people are going into being a wholesaler, I guess, is what they're doing. And they're making a lot of good profits. Yeah. So, okay, so now I'm so excited that you have decided to set up class once a month.
Yeah.
In your in the south side of Chicago. Is that my understanding?
It's quarterly. So yeah.
Quarterly. Okay. And where's that at? Okay.
Sorry. So I'm doing the class at the Kroc Center. So it's a classroom and maybe it seats about 30 something people.
Okay.
So yeah, we do that, and I just talk about and I let people ask as many questions as they want to, but we talk about just getting into real estate, what areas they should be looking at. I talk about up and coming areas and some of the laws, and because the laws here in Chicago can be strict for landlords. So I just go through all the details about buying real estate, but then the class is also general as well, because it can be applied to any state. So if I show it on YouTube, it's still applicable to other people that are investing outside of, Illinois or Chicago. So.
Right. Now the class, is it once, you said it's once a month, and then what's the fee for it, or what you were thinking about?
It's free.
The class is free. Okay.
And it's quarterly. So it's every 4 months, but it's free. I was teaching also in the Black Real Estate School with Andre. Okay. So I was doing class for him as well. I was teaching a couple classes in there as well. But the one in Chicago is the one that's quarterly and it's completely free.
Nice.
And ask questions, and it's 2 hours. So, I have refreshments and things like that. So.
Okay, good. So you get fed, you get refreshments, you don't get a full meal. You get refreshments, you get a lot of knowledge about real estate. You also learn how to really purchase your first property if you haven't got it. So maybe we should issue out a challenge, I feel like, when we get ready to close out this video, to get everybody to like really look into getting their very first property. Now, if you don't have good credit or whatever, what are maybe some options for people who are in that situation, or they're trying to get, like, they're not going to be able to get a bank loan? Do you know about it? Can you talk into that a little bit?
I mean, I definitely think you should visit a loan officer to see where you stand. I think that visiting them and having a consultation, because it's nothing worse than being in the dark about whether or not you qualify. So you may qualify credit score wise, but maybe you don't like have the actual down payment. So it gives you like a goal to work towards. I'm sorry. Sorry, you guys. I'm like dealing with a cold.
But, you get better, definitely. If you need to take something to drink, go ahead. Definitely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so it's also another thing, when you're dealing with a loan officer, inquire about any type of grants that they may have. So for instance, we have a lot of depressed areas that are up and coming, like the neighborhood in Woodlawn where we're getting the Obama Foundation Library.
Okay.
They're giving out grants for people that are buying over there for them to develop the area. So you just never know where you might want to actually, invest in. They may have some incentives for you to invest.
Right.
If you don't have the credit, I say work on the credit. Get with someone who can help you build your credit so you can actually qualify for something. I personally, I'm sorry, suggest that like if you're open to it, save your money and self-finance.
Okay.
For people, because I think that it's great to start out with a loan in the beginning. But so like when you keep going, I think the best way is to actually self-finance it, because you reap the rewards. The rewards are better. I don't like the idea of over leveraging yourself.
Right.
I see too many people that will grow so fast, and if you get 3 or 4 vacancies, the house of cards comes down.
Right.
Right. And and sometimes I will encounter people that have such a jaded idea about real estate, and the reason why is because they grew too fast.
Oh.
And you take out all these loans, and and then next thing you know, if you're only making $200 or $300 a month after you pay to me, I don't like that way of investing. Everybody has their own strategy. I like the way that I invest. I feel like I reap the rewards better. It gives me a better lifestyle. So I personally, if you will want to take the time out and just buy something that is just, a cheaper property, and then maybe take a loan out, and then just finance the other ones, and just have that one loan, and just the rest of you self-finance. I would prefer to go that way. I'm just not a fan of getting $1 million worth of, mortgages. And then only making small margins off of that. So
right, because you only make like so much back if you're because the mortgage and then all your fees. So you may get like 200 or 300 back, or if that much, 150 a lot of times, right? That you maybe so I love that, because that's kind of like the scenario I'm going into. Like, how do I begin to self-finance after I do the one loan, but only holding one loan at a time?
That's why we have to do. That's why in my plan I have to do the one flip per year. Because it allows me to keep bankrolling and be my own bank.
Right.
Otherwise, I'd have to go to a bank, and I don't want to do that. My goal is to be able to leave all of my real estate mortgage free to my children. And if they, even when I'm alive, if they come to me and they say to me, I want to have this business, I want to be like the parents of Jeff Bezos. I want to write that check for $250,000.
Yes.
If they come to me and they want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, I want to write that check. Because we know that, as I have 2 boys, black males walking into a bank and asking someone to finance their dream, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So I don't want anything holding them back from that. And so that's why I invest the way I do. So.
Nice. Now, do you do any like personal consultations or anything? I just thought about that when you were talking.
People ask me that all the time. I'm trying to get my coaching website up So I should have it done by the end of the year. But yeah, I get that email all the time. Like, do you do coaching 101 sessions? So yes.
Right. Yeah, I think you probably really should get into that, because like even your the way that your trajectory is and the way that you have built your business model is like different than a lot of real estate gurus I'm hearing from.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that idea, because that's always been kind of my hold up. I'm like, I don't want to be in a bunch of debt. I don't want to have like 4 mortgages, and I like to live. I mean, I like to travel.
Who wants to be like up at night, like, oh my goodness, I have 4 vacancies, I got to put someone in there.
Right.
No, my time, and I can take 2 or 3 months to fill a vacancy.
Right.
You know, I don't feel any type of rush. I don't lose any sleep at night. Mm-hmm. But if you have all these mortgage properties, believe me, you are going to be stretched. You're going to have gray hairs.
You have gray hairs, right? And I don't want any of those. So if you're just joining us, I am talking to Pongee. She wrote a book on real estate and chill. She's a millennial that is making strides in Illinois. She's a real estate guru already at a very young age and has owned several properties, her and her husband and her family, and she's teaching entrepreneurship, real estate, and everything you can know. So I'm learning a lot from this young lady, guys. Today I'm taking it all in. Make sure you follow her on Instagram at Real Estate and Chill. We're having a conversation all about real estate. So if you're just joining us, make sure you go back to the beginning, because you want to hear everything that she gave. She dropped some jewels today. So now, any last words you have for our viewers, or any things you want to leave us with?
Well, I think that real estate, I think most people in America have gotten rich off real estate, and there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. So even if you have a bad experience like I had in the beginning, keep going. Don't let one bad tenant like discourage you from like, you know, keeping your real estate. Hold on to your real estate. Don't sell your real estate unless you're trading it up for another asset. But start small. I really believe that real estate is a marathon and not a race. So don't go into it thinking like, oh, well, I want in the next 2 years, I want to have 50 units. Start small, because it takes time to manage that amount and finance that amount. So, you know, do it, you know, at your own pace, and definitely, you know, don't over leverage yourself.
Right.
But I think that, you know, real estate is a great way to pass down generational wealth. And then when you want to create that, one thing that I'm making sure that, you know, we indoctrinate our children into our real estate, because I see a lot of families will have real estate, and they kind of are steering their children towards the more educational route. So what'll happen is they'll inherit these properties, and they want nothing to do with these properties. They sell them.
Yeah.
There's really value in them, or they lose them because they don't pay the property taxes on them. And so what we're trying to make sure is that we make sure our sons are included in the process. You know, when they get in the teenage years, I want them to go and collect rent and deal with tenants one-on-one. I really want this to be a family business, and I just want to make sure that, you know, that other Black millennials, as you're building your portfolio, make sure your children are included in this, because that's the only way that it's going to be able to survive the next generation. Otherwise, your children might drop the ball, and, you know, that all that work that you did to, you know, have a solid foundation for wealth is gone in one generation. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting you brought that up, because I do see that a lot, especially older. Like we have I'm kind of in an area where we have everybody, but we do have an older population too that gets a lot of attention. They doing a lot of different things, but a lot of times their homes, their families don't want to deal with it, or their families don't know what's going on. So they're trying to get them out the property because they're living off Social Security, and so then the house is just like gone. You know, so I love the fact that you're talking about, like, it's very important you intrigue your kids into this. And I think there's a gap right now that's happening that I see, and I'm like, the older generation is not like involving even my generation or the younger generation into certain things that they should be, so they can be passing down. Even if you don't pass down to your family, it may be somebody that you know that you trust that's been around you for a while, that you can still pass that down to where it doesn't just go to the city. Absolutely. Or it doesn't become a vacant house or a lot or whatever that you see happen. Yeah, tax lien that happens all the time. Yes. And I'm just like, whoa, like where are we missing the boat at? So I'm happy you brought that up.
Yes. Yeah. We have generational wealth in the Black community. We lose Big Mama's house. And that's what's happening. It's I don't know if you look at some of Chicago like articles around tax time, they talk about how in the Black neighborhoods on the South and the West side, we have some of our Cook County you know, has some of the largest places where the properties are lost for $1,100. And when you go to these tax sales, you see nothing but Jewish white people just standing there buying up all these tax liens because they have large amounts of capital,
Right.
and they're getting our properties for pennies on the dollar. And so the wealth is there. We're losing it. We're losing it because we're not telling our children how to maintain these properties. So
right, and how to maintain it and be involved and not just move to the suburbs and then forget the hood. I always tell, you know, that's so funny that you say that, because I always talk about, I'm like, guys, if you really look at everything between gentrification and like they're buying up all our properties, now they're coming back to the hood and they're, you know, and now they're moving us out. I was like, we ain't gonna have no neighborhoods.
No. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't, if anybody thinking about that, I'm like, literally, like, you wanted to get to the suburb, that was the thing, to get out the hood or whatever. And then the older I'm getting, I'm like, man, I need to be back in the hood. I need to be buying properties. I need to be living there, because we're not gonna have any place to go.
Every time we get sick of living somewhere, they move us out of it.
Right.
So 15 years from now, when they get sick of living in the city and they want to go back to the burbs, they're gonna move us out of it. So
they're gonna move us back out, and it's like a migration.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I'm like, I wonder, do we pay attention to that? Because that's happening. And I'm like, no, let's buy, let's hold, say, no, this is our neighborhood. And
that's what I talk about, because not only are you leaving your real estate, you're also leaving, you're diminishing our political power.
Right.
So we saw that here in the city of Chicago, because when so many Blacks, and I get it, because they say, well, I'm leaving because I'm sick of the shooting, I'm sick of my baby not being safe.
Right.
So I get it. And so what happens is voting time comes around and we don't have, the power is diminishing, especially in Chicago. We used to be really strong and had a strong voting block here, but it's diminished because we moved out of the city of Chicago. Yeah.
Right. To be safe. And then we don't think about things like that and how the trajectory affects us later. Because even if you had a strong voting block, you probably, like you talked about earlier, with the felonies not being able to take part of rental or a Section 8 rental, or becoming that landlord for Section 8 because they have a felony, like that's something you could fight for legislation, but you can't if you don't have a voting block, which is happening here in Georgia. Like, we have one city that I was reading up on. Well, my senator, I do talk to senators and stuff a lot in Georgia, because I'm starting to understand how much politics goes into business and community. I don't care. Even if you don't like it, you got to understand it. Right. We have one city that's within another city. Like, it's like a zip code. They decided this year that they didn't want to be part of the other part of the city. Of course, it's mostly the rich white folks. They're in a black, like, it's like a black area too, but like everybody, like, it's pretty middle class or rich, but the white folks there decided they didn't want to be part of the city anymore, and they fought to get it on the ballot to literally become its own city within a city. Wow. To control its own politics, policy, have its own commission, everything. Now, it got voted down, but they had to go through this process to literally, like, they put up a foundation and everything. Wow. Like, so we trying to get to their neighborhoods. Like I want our people to understand that we're trying to get to their neighborhood, but they don't even want to be part of us. No. Like, they don't show you right there that they literally was like, we're gonna draw a city within this city, and we want our own everything. But they want their own tax dollars, they want their own commission board, their own mayor within a city. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even surprised by it, but I think that's another strategy that Black people can use themselves. I think we can learn from that. But yeah, I think that, I'm not even surprised that they would do something like that. In 2018, we're talking about, this just happened. This was all, even though we're dealing with all the craziness of the election now, but that was on our ballot as well for this city. And like, I'm just like, people, like, you think that's the objective, but that's really should not be our trajectory. You're not welcome there. Your children are welcome there. No. Right. And we gotta understand that. I hope we wake up to it sooner than later. That's my biggest thing. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So go ahead and tell the viewers how to find you, how to contact you, give out your social media information and all that. And thank you for this awesome interview today. Thank you for having me. This was nice. So you guys can find me on Instagram at Real Estate and Chill, and you can also find me on Facebook at Real Estate and Chill. Also, if you want to email me, it's Pongee, that's PONGEEB at AOL.com. And is there any other way? Oh, I have a YouTube channel, Real Estate and Chill, as well. So if you guys, check me out on any of those platforms, and I'll reach out to you. Nice. So thank you for joining us on Intellectual Chocolate. I'm your host, Ronique West. I had Pongee. She was a real estate and chill author guru. Make sure you follow her at Real Estate and Chill on Instagram. I got that right?
Yes.
Okay. Real Estate and Chill on Instagram. Now, if you know anybody that has something brilliant to say, we're looking for more brilliant Black minds to interview. Go to intellectualchocolate.com and don't forget to check out the Black Business School. And again, I'll catch you next time on Intellectual Chocolate. If you want to follow me on Instagram at Ronique M. West, and you can find out everything I have going on. I'll catch you guys later. Thank you.